QPilot is an AI agent for end-to-end testing of web and mobile apps. It can serve many specialized use cases.
The second approach is it takes it one step further. However, this is less likely scenarios in most cases, where let's say you are developing your application for the first time. You have no historical test case, or you are creating an automation project for the first time. You don't have your application built, you don't have your previous test script. So there's no historical context that we can use. Now, how do we achieve the automation in that state? This becomes much more resource intensive for us, but in this case, you just give your natural language descriptions and we will generate the scripts totally at the runtime during your suite execution. So this can be used when you don't have any historical test case data, you don't have the application built at all to create any historical data. Right? So let's say I'm creating a new product which is going to be launched in 1 month from now. Can I create some of my automation scripts for the product which will be launched in next 2 weeks or so? That's the state we are talking about.
When no version of the application is available, and again, as Avinash mentioned, this will be resource intensive because you do not have any history or previous builds, right, for that intelligence, and you're creating, so you can create your entire test descriptions, right, without the build. So here we have used our own pCloud application as an example, and assuming that this is a new build and we're going to be testing for a particular feature called My Bookings, right? So that's what we're going to do here. So again, I will go to my QPilot dashboard, go to all tests, and say, I have a new feature, this feature that I want to test, right? And I'm simply going to go ahead and create new test case, and in this case, it would be browser, right? I would select which suite that I would want it to be a part of, right? And I'm going to give a feature name and so on. And then a description. So in this case, the description need not be marked with #ACK because it's going to be the entire test case is going to be generated at the runtime, right? So I'm going to save my test case, and I'm simply going to go to my collection. And I'm going to add the booking feature collection. I can also add, multiple test cases here. I'm just going to add a few more. Give a name to my collection. Collection details needed. You can add that, and simply, give a name to your build, right? So you can see that the My Booking feature one, where where we have given the description, the toggle for runtime generation is enabled here. So what this means is, firstly, it will go ahead and do an execution, a QPilot generation, like how I showed you in the beginning, right? It will do that generation and get the script, post which it will then trigger the run for all these 3 test cases. So whenever you select a test case at the runtime generation enabled, it will first execute the entire script and generate the script, and then it will be able to execute all your test cases as a collection. This is in the case where we are not creating the script or adding a particular featured functionality testing, but it's for the entire description of your use case being generated at the runtime. So I'm just going to again select the browser that I wanted to run on and go ahead and save my collection, and I'm going to go ahead and run my collection. So the collection executed has started. I can simply go to the live view session here and see the generation taking place. Else I can again simply go to my reports and go ahead and view that. Here is a sample report. This is the report where we have generated, just executed a while back. So this is the new My Booking feature along with all the other functionalities as well. So for example, if I go here, again, I will have the logs of my entire test case with the video of the entire session that's happening. So you can see that the script has gotten generated and executed from scratch, right? So I have not spent that time generating my script, waiting for my build, right? And it's going and clicking on My Bookings, and the execution is completed. So what has happened here is, firstly, the script has gotten generated and executed in a second. So that is the explanation of our second feature, where you do not have a version of your application, or you do not have history or any historical data from previous builds. You would still be able to do that shift left and bring about your automation at the time of development. So with that, I hope those two use cases gave you some insights into the kind of breadth of test cases and use cases that are possible with QPilot and the kind of testing and shift left that you would be able to do here. So with that, I'll again hand it over to Avinash to conclude on this.
Thanks, Jessica. Thanks a lot for explaining this so well and showing the real-time execution and creation of scripts for both the cases. On the second case, I want to add one more scenario where you can use it. So if your application is changing very frequently, right? I mean, especially when your application is in the initial stages of development, there are many changes which are happening. So if you create this script and keep it and use that, it fails many times because the UI has changed, elements have changed, and then you need to recreate it. Or use self-healing, which are again not useful when there are so many changes, right? Self-healing can work if there are some locator-based changes and some elements have changed. But if there are many changes in your application, it fails. And that is where this whole runtime generation, where we are not dependent on any previously generated script. We take the context of the application at the runtime, generate the script, and then go ahead and execute it, right? Like I said, it would be little resource intensive. The execution will take a bit more, a bit of time compared to the normal execution, but you are ensuring that your scenarios are getting tested even when your applications are changing, right? So that's the power of this whole runtime generation that we have been able to build. So depending on your situation, you can choose approach 1 and approach 2. If your application is already stable and you are focusing on testing new features which are upcoming in the next sprint, the approach 1 where think and act works well. But if your application is very dynamic, going through a lot of changes, then you can opt to use runtime generation till your application is stable. And as soon as your application is stable, you can always switch back to your standard generation, and where your pre-generated scripts will be used and your executions will be much faster. So that's the power QPilot provides, with so much flexibility for you to choose across different approaches that you can use across, within your organization.